Kerbal Space Program. Zombies in Space. Episode 13. Mapping Kerbin and Marching on Minimus. Alright, so we get back to our little spacecraft that's doing its share of trying to map Kerbin, and we check the map stats, and yeah, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be doing a heck of a lot. So I'm getting the feeling it has to be you have to have it active for it to actually work. If it's not the active craft, it's not doing it in the background. I'm getting that feeling. Anyway, I should note that this is really an amazing view. I think this looks really cool, even though we've been stuck in the deep freeze here forever, and I'm really tired of winter, but this still looks cool. Anyways, so another thing that I kind of figure is that it doesn't seem to be mapping a whole lot of things, and I don't know if I clue into that and change it here, but I will change the orbit of this satellite just to see if it will cover more territory, because if you look at this, I've focused in on the position of this, well, I shouldn't say satellite, but this spacecraft. It has a Kerbal on board after all. But if you look at it in the ISA MapSat view, it's covering the same territory over and over, apparently. Somehow I've fluked into finding an orbit that only goes over certain parts of the planet. And it's not like I'm going over the equator either. Anyway, interesting. It also doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot with the Kethane, so I'm thinking, as I've mentioned before, you actually have to have it as the active spacecraft. There we go. There we go. Now it's doing something different. You have to have it as the active spacecraft, and I think it needs more power and more batteries than, or I should say more solar panels and more batteries than what I've put on it. See, now it's mapping new territory. Yay! I'm not 100% sure it's going right over the North Pole either, so at some point that may have to change. But I think I've stated it before, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to try do mining on Kerbin anyway. It's probably something more worthwhile to try do on Minimus. So anyway, on that note, let's see what's happening with this craft. It is heading towards Minimus, although this is not showing that it's going to have an encounter with Minimus. It's showing an encounter with Moon. So here we go. Now we're getting the encounter of some sort. So we'll try and straighten out that with a maneuver here. Make it a better encounter, because that's the other thing, as I've said before, with Minimus being the size that it is, it's kind of tricky to line it up and line it up well sometimes. I'm spinning the craft trying to find little Mr. Blue indicator. Oh wow, so we're basically burning north. Well, that works for me. Okay, close enough. Well, maybe not. We'll adjust it a little further. Now it's not a shaky encounter anymore. This is the real deal. So I'm trying to set an alarm. See if it'll automatically kill the warp. I don't know. Sometimes I worry these things aren't going to work properly anyway, and then I stop it before the alarm goes off. Well, that's a pretty good orientation. Fill those batteries. Oh, hey, there's Minimus. There's Kerbin. There's Moon, if you can look very carefully and closely, and sun, and the star, Kerbal, the sun, whatever you want to call it. Managed to get all four of those in the same shot. That's kind of cool. Alright. So plotting a trajectory to get us into orbit. Orbit is good. Set another alarm. Delete on close. Well, that was weird. Okay, try to line it up with the blue indicator again. Try and set another alarm. I don't know what it's doing. And there's Minimus. Did we lose Moon? Do some science. Science is good. Here we go. Oh, we lost our maneuver node. Yeah, that's one of the things about trying to actually do science. You seem to lose your maneuver nodes a lot. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, we'll just burn until it gets into orbit. We know we were pointed in the direction that we wanted to be pointed in, so let's just fire the engines and let things happen. Alright, the periapsis is coming down. There we go. And guess we'll adjust things a little bit. Yep. La la la. And find that maneuver. Find out where we need to point for that maneuver node. Oh yeah, I got the Kethane grid on, even though we haven't done any mapping of Minimus. One day though, one day I expect to map Minimus. And try mining. I don't know, I've never used the Kethane mod before in any of my previous games, so the fact that I mapped any of Kerbin is a step above what I've done before. Okay, so checking on the science, and some of the times, of course, nothing to see here. Well, there's a few things there, get some points, write it down. Okay. Some of these things I've gotten science for the flybys I've done. Now let's see if I can actually land this thing. I've tried landing different versions of this spacecraft before, and it's never really worked out so well, as you've seen if you've been watching the other episodes. So let me burn the engines, fire the engines up, try and get things in the way that we want it, but I'm going to try and modify this trajectory some more and try and land. Whoa! Try and land where things are flat. The problem is you got to get over that ridge first. Well, that's a nice looking trajectory. Of course, the trick to this is you get everything lined up, you figure you got everything sorted out, and Minimus is rotating reasonably quickly, and so what you were trying to line up with and line up over isn't always there when you get there. It's kind of a crazy comment, but it's the truth. So let's see what's there when we come around the other side. Are we going in the wrong direction again? Man, I guess we're lined up for free return trajectories or something, so we're going in the direction opposite to the spin of Minimus. And we lost our burn again. Man, oh man, that's kind of, again, annoying. You lose your maneuver node. Okay, we're coming around. Ah, nice lineup there. You got Moon, you've got Kerbin, you got the Sun, and you've got Minimus. Once again, all in one shot. Although, once the Sun showed up, it's kind of hard to see Moon now. But it's there. Okay, we're approaching the burn. Less than a minute to go. And now it's a 10-second burn, so you try and burn 5 seconds on either side of the node. And we're burning, and we lost the node again. I don't know what's going on. Whatever. Anyway, I should try not to get too serious about worrying about science right at the moment. Let's just try and land there. Okay. And actually, this is an area I've landed before. I've landed down there and gone up to the top of that cliff, and also gone into that little lake bed on the mountainside there. Of course, that was in other games. In this one, the zombies haven't landed on Minimus yet. So, here's to try number 1. So we got the landing gear out. We should have the lights on. I imagine by now I would have turned the lights on. Let's hopefully turn off the engines and before we drop the stage, not like before when we just about had that stage fire right into the lander. That would have been bad and embarrassing. Anyway, it says we're 4,300 meters up, and pretty well, if you're landing on the flats of Minimus, you can pretty much take that as the absolute truth, because the flats are very flat. Anyway, I'm trying to get closer to the edge so that I can have our Kerbal go and explore things other than, or very easily explore things other than the flats and get some science that way. I'm not trying to be greedy. That's cost us before. I am trying to get more science, but I'm going to try and concentrate on the landing here as opposed to trying to get a bunch of science on my way down. The science will come after we land. That's the plan. So we got a lot of fuel in that stage still. Our speed is kind of low, and I'm okay with that. We're really maneuvering things and trying to control the trajectory, which means I'm not following the nodes as much as, or the headings as much as I normally would. Now we're starting to try and burn retrograde. And again, we're not going down too quickly, but we have a long way to go down. Oh boy. Okay, this is not the fast way down. Let's just put it that way. Definitely not the fast way down. And not exactly the most fuel efficient either. Anyway, I decided to ditch that stage. So, we're going down. And I did remember to turn the engine off before ditching the stage. Yay! One less hazard created by me. And one thing that I've noted before, a lot of times on my landers, in the past, I've tended to put RCS fuel and RCS thrusters, and so basically you try and point your lander straight up and do what I call the RCS assisted landing. You have it try and point it straight up and turn on your RCS, and that way if you bounce or anything, it should automatically try to straighten itself out. It's not a bad idea, but if you don't have it, doesn't quite work out for you. Plus it makes your craft more responsive to maneuvers. Sometimes maybe a little too much, but it does work out a lot of the time. Anyway, so that other stage is just approaching 200 meters away from us, but it's still got a long way to go for its fall. So it's not really picking up speed, because we released that thing a while ago. And we're slowly picking up speed, but I've got the thrusters going, so it's slowing us down a bit. And it's now approaching 400 meters distance from us. See if any of it survives the impact. So we're less than a kilometer from the surface. The ground scatter is really starting to show up. I can see the shadow of the booster, and there it goes. Boom. So we got about 500 meters to go. We got a bit of a drift going here. Go figure. That's one of the problems with having a trajectory that's kind of almost straight down. You seem to get a lot of drift, and your surface drift and your orbit drift often end up going in opposite directions, and then it's a question of, okay, which one am I going to try to balance out so that I don't crash? When you're going in horizontally, or practically horizontally, by the time you get things sort of straightened out, your surface and orbit velocities are going in the same direction. Okay, we're getting low now, and we're drifting, of course, because that seems to be almost impossible to avoid completely. I'm firing up. I should be trying to kind of adjust things. We're getting low. Here comes the shadow. We're getting really low, and now we're bouncing. This is not fun. We're now kind of upside down, and we're rolling. The roll, the bounce. Yeah, I turned off the engines, which is probably a smart thing. Now if I can just get it tipped over. Here we go. Here we go. No, it's tipping. It's tipping. Yeah. So, just about lost that parachute, I think. So I bring in the landing gear and try to straighten it out with the torque we've got from the capsule, and it's coming over. Hopefully nothing breaks. It looks like everything's still intact, although it had every opportunity to break a few things off. It's kind of why it's good to have extra antenna, just in case one goes. So release the gears again. Let the landing gear out, and oh way, if nobody had seen the last few seconds, they might think we made a perfect landing. Hey, scary stuff. Okay, extend the solar panels, because that's always good. Don't want to run out of power. And release the crew. No, get a crew report. Record the crew's assessment situation. Write that down. Oh no, transmit it. It's worth 100% transmitted. Get some pressure data from the barometer. Oh. Whoa, hey, that's the end, I guess. We'll deal with the science later. See ya.